Hi, I'm reading tonight at Western Sky Books, and I wanted to do just a little bit of a rehearsal before I go. So I'm reading from The Witch Killer, and it's chapter 1. Here we go. I came to the club that night to meet a witch called Jade, but left wanting something more, something I'd never known or wanted before. Jade arrived at midnight, her long black hair hanging wild about her face, and I flashed the sign, the blood-red pentacle etched on my inner forearm. It was Friday night and the club was packed, but she acknowledged me, appraising me as a woman might a potential purchase. I didn't like it. No man likes teetering on the edge of rejection, whatever his agenda. But I endured it. Satisfied, she moistened her scarlet lips and shimmied wide-eyed into the fray, bedazzled, as I knew she would be, by the glamour of the Gothic nightclub, the blazing constellations in the darkling canopy, and the musky sweat of gyrating dancers. Squeezing in at the bar like a shiny black beetle, she ordered a shot. Bodies swayed, inhaling her pheromones. I'd chosen well on both counts. Club Pegasus, tucked into a trendy notch of Vancouver, was a voyeur's paradise. And Jade, in leather to her thighs and little else, drew their gaze. It must be primal instinct that drives humans yearning for unholy exploits to swathe their bodies in the skins of animals. When a server in fishnets sashayed by, I touched her arm and discreetly ordered another non-alcoholic drink. Glancing back, I watched Jade swivel on the stool like a child on a carnival ride. How long would she play this game, thinking she was making me wait for her? Naive and narcissistic, she was perfect. Then Michael Stryker sashayed by in a shadowy sea of silk and set my mind adrift. The legendary Stryker, self-christened Mandragora, was reputed to host orgies that could rival Nero and be tied to organized crime through his grandfather, who was the real money behind the club. Angular and tantalizing with a libertine charm, Stryker's straight honey blonde hair was parted in the center and fell below his shoulders, a fitting frame for the hollow cheeks, painted lips, and black-lined eyes. He wore the look of a bygone era and wore it well. When in full vampire persona, as he was tonight, he wore fangs and red contacts. Too bad he was a fraud, a man like that. Do you think he's hot? A pale ginger punk interrupted my thoughts. Balancing a martini glass between his freckled fingers, he hovered over me. He thinks he's the reincarnation of Lord Byron. I think he's an ass. Who gives a shit what you think? No need for brutality. I turned my back to him. I wanted no memorable moments this night, no witnesses, and no complications. Sensing the punk's disappearance, I glanced back to see Stryker sweep Jade's hair to one side and flash his fake fangs across her pale neck. Startled by his crimson contact, she flinched. To pacify her, he brushed her lips with the tip of his index finger, and when she acquiesced, slid it into her mouth. Bitch. I hadn't spent hours chatting her up on the Wicca site, only to lose her to him, and considered charging over to remind her why she'd chosen to come to this club and who'd given her the password. But I couldn't do that. I could, however, take advantage of this scenario. After turning Jade to face the dance floor, Stryker pressed in close behind her, one hand encircling her neck, the other playing her belly like a cello. Discerning his discreet cue, a slave boy appeared with a tray of cherry red shots, which Stryker, it was rumored, called blood clots and randomly laced with ecstasy. They each took one, clinked glasses, and downed the potion. Feeling my eyes on her, Jade smiled coyly. Come here, she mouthed, cocking her head. While I considered this invitation and where it might lead, Stryker led her to the heart of the throbbing room. I was about to intervene when an intruder wearing sweats and a ball cap appeared. Running straight for Jade, his threat reverberated over the beats. I'll kill you, bitch. A bouncer jumped him, but spiking on adrenaline, the man shook himself free. Then a second bouncer appeared, hooked his arm around the man's neck and squeezed. The body crumpled and hit the floor. As they dragged it out by the armpits, the crowd cheered like bloodthirsty Romans. Stryker crushed Jade's face into his shoulder and stroked her hair. Was she crying, telling secrets, apologizing? She claimed to be single and available. Was that a lie? I hated that women were liars. Then a sudden flash of fire from the stage illuminated him. The magician, in tuxedo and black silk cape, hovered between two flaming torches. His raven hair, slicked back in a fringe braid, hung halfway down his back. Chiseled cheekbones and charcoaled eyes, his mouth was thick and perfect, his lips heart-shaped. Leaping off the stage, the magician landed in a fiery flourish and bowed to the applause. then cruised the dance floor, laughing and tossing flames from hand to hand as effortlessly as apples. I knew his face. His photograph graced the glassed marquee outside the entrance. Though stunning, it had never affected me like seeing him in the flesh did now. I said his name, Estrada. He turned and our eyes met through a sea of bodies. When he stepped toward me, I spilled my drink, tried to turn away and couldn't. It was Stryker who broke the spell. Sliding his hand under the magician's cloak, he clutched his hip and drew him in. Clinging to the vampire's arm, Jade watched the fire swirl around her until at last Estrada tossed it high into the air and it vanished. As the music intensified, the crowd swarmed, and amidst the sweating bodies, I lost sight of them. Slipping out past the gate into the September street, I found the broken jock still unconscious and slouched against the brick wall beneath the magician's marquee. I stood and stared at the image. It could have been a cover shot for GQ, posing in a black tuxedo with tails, a burgundy orchid in the lapel. His loose hair caught the wind and flew back in a mass of waves. The deep brown irises of his coal-edged eyes had been photoshopped to a piercing gold. And in a strange language, those perfect lips uttered a private invitation. Estrada, I whispered, I accept. What else could I do?